Good morning. My name is Tracy Trypuc. Welcome to Your Health Matters. Today, my guest is Karin Caro, and I welcome you to the program. We will be discussing tips every parent should know during the summertime. So welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Tracy.
Thank you for being on with me today, Karin. I appreciate it. Now, you're the mother of several children.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you've asked these questions of others before or spoken with your pediatricians about some of these questions. And so I thought it would be nice to have you here on the set while we discuss some of these important topics.
Great. I can't wait. Thank you.
Okay. So one of the most important topics that comes up during the summer is heat stroke in children. And that is a very important topic to have. It is about child safety, specifically children left alone in vehicles and unfortunately dying due to heat stroke. Heat stroke is the #1 killer of children. Were you aware of that?
I had no idea. No.
Outside of car accidents, 15 children died from heat stroke or suspected heat stroke throughout the United States. And the suspected, what they call close calls, could be in the thousands. So 44 children died of heat stroke in the U.S. 606 died due to heat stroke in the previous year. And it just takes a moment. So what heat stroke is a child becomes very red and hot, and they have moist or dry skin. There is no sweating, however. They have a strong, rapid pulse, or they can have a slow, weak pulse. And there is dizziness and nausea and confusion, and they can be acting grouchy or strangely. It only takes a moment. So the takeout here is never leave a child or children alone in a vehicle. And I know some people say, well, how could somebody do that? And we know people live very busy lives. Sometimes they have several children, or they're on the way to get another child, and they maybe have a baby that's sleeping and they've forgotten. So I'm not trying to push any blame here on anyone. It's just that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to raise awareness of this heat stroke and try to give people ways to remember so that it doesn't happen to them, and that they can share this message to other parents as well. So some of the things are, again, never leave your child or children alone in a car. Not even for 5 minutes, not even to say I'm just running in to get some bread. Don't lock your car or use the clicker and walk away without looking back to see if you have a child in the car, because that's like I said, out of sight, out of mind, and
right.
And that's oftentimes what happens.
Right.
Even in temperature days where the temperatures are in the 60s, because a car's internal temperature rises above 110 degrees. So children's bodies warm faster. Leave an important item like in the back seat where your child's car seat is, like your wallet or a pocketbook. So when you get out to go somewhere, you are reminded that your child is there. And look before you lock. So try to remember that. Look before you lock. If you ever see a child left alone in a hot car, please call 911 immediately.
Right.
I know there was something recently on the news, and they got into this big, well, that's my business. And I was like, I'm sorry. If that was your car, in alone, and you were in a store, if somebody saw that, they should call 911.
Sure.
Because you want to save that child's life.
Sure.
So that was the one, I think, most important tip that I wanted to introduce this morning, because it is so important and the temperatures are getting warmer.
Sure.
So.
I remember when my kids were small, my oldest son would not allow me to leave the car. So, for example, if I forgot my rings, my wedding band, I would run back into the house for a second. You know, they're in the garage, everyone's packed in, 4 kids in 4 years, everyone's packed in. I run inside just to get my wedding band or my cell phone, and he's hysterical. Don't leave. So he started to go through a checklist with me. Do you have the baby? Do you have the diaper bag? Do you have that? Do you have your wedding band? Do you have your cell phone? And he knew. I was never, ever the type of parent that would just run in for a second. I was very young, and I was always worried that they were so young. I never wanted them to watch each other. I never wanted to put them in that position to babysit, quote unquote, their siblings. So we're getting a warning here. A warning. I just feel like kids shouldn't be responsible to take care of themselves or to watch other siblings, putting them in that position. But it's alarming to me that this is really an issue. I've heard of, honestly, Tracy, I've heard of people leaving animals in the car. And that's obviously something that's done and you hear about more frequently. But these facts that you're bringing up, to leave children in the car in the heat, in the summer, and I think the car can heat up very quickly.
Yes.
So it's certainly of a huge concern that people are leaving their kids in the car. And again, I can see it that the child is sleeping. I can see why people may not want to wake up the child, but obviously. Beyond heat stroke, there could be other things that happen when you're gone. Choking. I mean, it's the most awful feeling for a child to feel like no one's there to help them. Where's mom or dad? And they're crying hysterically, scared. That feeling of abandonment or alone. I just would never, ever want that.
No,
so
I
think it goes beyond that. Choking hazards or anything that it could possibly be. So very, very interesting and very scary. And really also, I remember that the issue of forgetting your children was a huge concern to doctors, and when you're even at the hospital, don't forget. I think that sometimes, I don't know, with every pregnancy we lose brain cells or something because you forget things all the time. And I have heard of friends forgetting their children. I never did that, but forgetting that they're inside the car. And I think it's a great tip that you suggested, to leave your pocketbook in the back of the car, because you're not going to be without that. And people do live really busy lives. If I had more children now, I have 4 kids, almost all of them are teenagers at this point, and if I had a baby right now, it's a really hard balance. You become forgetful of just your life is so busy.
Thank you for sharing. Those are very important in your own personal life, and important information that you've heard from your friends. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. And we will be right back after these commercial break.
Hey Larry, every week I watch your show.
As you should.
And I know so much about sports now. Thank you.
You should be learning about sports, and everybody should be watching all our other shows here on the Daily Blue.
Why are you promoting the other shows? I thought you were the king of the Daily Blue.
That's true, but I'm all about everybody. It's not always all about me.
No, it really
about
is.
The team.
Every day I wake up and it says, today is all about me, Karin. Don't
I've
lie.
heard that.
Don't lie. Tune in every week to the Daily Blue and you'll see Sports Biz with LD, and you will get a lot of information, updates in sports, and a little bit about Sports Biz.
And that's me, Larry Davis, Sports Biz with LD.
And we're back. Another episode of Your Health Matters, discussing some summer tips for parents. And my guest again today is Karin Caro. Thank you, Karin.
Thanks so much. I'm loving your show, Tracy. I think there's a really important message to send to families.
All right. Well, now we're going to discuss about sunscreens and protecting children during the summer months, and what would be considered the best sunscreens and finding the best sunscreens. And of course, all parents can go and speak to their pediatricians and ask for them for advice. But I did want to spend a little time, because there are so many different, you can go and there's a whole wall
Right.
In the
Drugstore,
pharmacy,
yeah.
or any of the other supermarkets, selections about different sunscreens. So I did think it would be a good idea to discuss that, especially as now everybody's school's out and kids are going to the beach and they're playing sports out there. So I just want to start with a few basics. So SPF means the sun protection factor.
Right.
And so I remember when I was younger, we all wanted to get a tan. So, and we weren't really not looking for
Putting the baby oil on, right?
Exactly. And of course, you learn as you age that wasn't a good thing.
Right.
And then when my son was young, that's when I started looking for the sunscreens that were applicable
Right.
to his use, prior to when he was 6 months, and then after that. And he was an avid athlete all through school.
Right.
So I wanted to be sure I had appropriate sunscreens. And now the sunscreen protection is even better than it has been in the past. So there's they have the next generation sunscreens. And as I said, I do not want to endorse any specific product.
Right.
But they have products out now that have specific ingredients that are designed to offer fuller protection against both UVA and UVB, and that the UVB is the ultraviolet B rays that are dangerous. So given all these, and one other thing, sorry, that they come in, you apply them, I should have taken this off, but you can apply them on your arm, and you can spray them on, and they have
Right.
mousse ones,
Right,
and gel,
everything.
so there's so many different types. So how do you know which one is the correct one for you? Well, the bottom line there is, which one are you going to use? I liken this to makeup. If you go and someone's trying to say, well, this makeup or this lipstick is the best one for you, but when you get home, if you don't like it, you're not going to wear it.
Right.
So it might be a trial and error process in the beginning, but someone might recommend this kind for you, or another kind. Your doctor may suggest this one, but which one are you going to wear? So that's really what you need to find out. But there are some important issues with regard to that, as far as the the ultraviolet blockage. You need to find out what is the best one for you. For the vast majority of people, they were saying SPF 15 was the best, but that's not really all that accurate anymore.
Right.
They're looking for more of an SPF 30 or 40. But the most important thing with applying sunscreen is that even if it's waterproof sunscreen, you need to reapply it. So if it's sweaty, if you're sweaty.
Right.
Sorry.
I gotcha.
If you're sweaty and you bought this waterproof sunscreen and you're running around, playing badminton or something, and it's a sunny day, you need to reapply that sunscreen.
Right.
So, you know, it may make you think that it's going to last for a long time, but it does eventually, because of the sweating and because of the sun's rays. And if you get wet in the
Right.
process, like go take a dip in the water,
Right.
it's going to come off faster. Okay, so then there is, as I was saying, water and sweat resistance. And especially if you're going to be exercising or in the water, those are worth looking into. But understand that what this really means, and according to the FDA, defines water-resistant sunscreen as meaning that the SPF level stays effective after 40 minutes in the water, okay? And so that's important to know. Kid-friendly sunscreen. So I'm trying to see. I am deliberately trying to hold the names of these because, again, I'm not endorsing any products. But you see here, this one is Beach Defense.
Right.
It's a broad spectrum SPF 30, and it's water and sun protection. And it says it's #1 dermatologist recommended. But it does have, you know, the directions. Apply generously 15 minutes before sun exposure, and then reapply 80 minutes of swimming or sweating. So for this one, it's reapply 80 minutes.
Okay.
But I would, you know, depending upon how wet and sweating, and, you know, if you've got sand on you and
Sure.
whatnot, I would put it on more frequently. This is that kids one. This one has the UVA and the UVB protection, and it says it's a continuous spray. The problem for me is with a spray, I'm not sure you're going to get all parts, you know, that you need to get.
Right.
So that's something that you really need to check in on. But this is also water resistant. Be careful when you pick these things. Read them carefully. Google them online. Remember that if you're driving, you're right up here is an area that can easily become cancerous.
Right.
Even if you have, you know, slightly tinted windows, because you're not putting sunscreen on.
Right.
There's some clothing that has some
Sunscreen in it, right?
Provides some protection. Here's one that I wear kayaking,
yeah,
and it's got some protection. This is just a basic sun hat, but you need to cover yourself. Make sure you can get some clothing that will help you as well. And do you have any questions?
Just one thing I wanted to say is this one particularly says that it's tear-free and sting-free.
Yeah.
You know, applying the spray in the face, it's so, like, you don't want to spray your child in the face.
Right, right.
So it's nice that it's tear-free, but it really isn't what the kids love.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. This one is pure and free baby faces.
Right.
And for 6 months old, their skin is more gentle than older children's skin, and so you do need to apply a sunscreen that's just for 6 months old and less. And if anybody has an allergy, they need to stop using it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Notify your doctor.
Right.
So so that's important. And the rest of these are basically, they were just to show you the different types, but this is another. This is unscented, because some of them have scents, and
right.
People are allergic to scents. And this is also, this is one of those new chemicals in it that I was telling you.
Right.
So,
which is interesting. I always looked for the highest number because my kids are so fair. Mm-hmm. So I looked for the highest number in sunscreen, and I learned that that's not always the best. Right? No. You have to look for that UVB that really gives you that extra protection, and this Helioplex is something new that I think also adds, and the clothing adds additional protection. But I think when you know your skin, and especially when you're dealing with kids, then you just need to know to limit sun exposure and stay well protected.
Yeah, and reapply.
Reapply, yeah, definitely. Definitely reapply, especially for my kids. You gotta get sprayed every few minutes.
Yeah. My son had red hair when he was growing up. And, he had light blonde, and then it changed to red. So, I was constantly putting the sunscreen on because I didn't want him to get any.
Bad hair, right?
Get burned or anything like that.
And one thing I think that parents do forget, and you mentioned it, is to just protect yourself. Because, again, if you're burning or something happens to you, how can you be a good parent for your children?
Right. You need to teach them by doing.
Sure.
So be a
and
good
they
example.
learn a routine. There are a lot of, I'm really an organic person. I look for all natural products, and there are some really good organic sunscreens and organic sun sprays, and you can find them right at Babies R Us or Toys R Us. They sell a little section of sunscreens. Yeah. Not always in the drugstores, I noticed, but in those other stores you can find, or Whole Foods, Trader Joe's even, they have some of those really good products. And they're effective, especially on white McFaces.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Karin.
Thank you.
And I hope that you have learned something. If you have any more questions, you can go to the CDC website or the American Academy of Pediatrics, or you can talk to your doctor and ask them questions about what you should do with your child or children. And I thank you for joining us today on Your Health Matters. Have a wonderful day, and we will be back again next week. And I will tell you later on about who our guest will be. Thank you.